Hello everybody and welcome to the Schnews, your weekly shoe news roundup recap ting. Today we've got a few pretty interesting stories to talk about, including the whole Nike versus StockX debacle. In what feels like about the fifth time we've said end of an era with regard to this relationship, Adidas have announced they've finally sold the very last Yeezy. We've also got some pretty exciting new sneaker announcements, including these pretty fire-looking threes. In terms of sneaker releases that went down this week, there were a couple of sort of noteworthy ones, I want to say. Had the Pegasus Premium drop in this dark colorway. Also had the Apron Records Nike Air 180 in the green colorway and in the red colorway, which pretty much sold out straight away. I think pairs on these were extremely limited. And we also had these women's Air Jordan 4s that dropped today as well, which at least 10-15 minutes after dropping was still pretty available. So if you wanted a pair of these and you're up to a US 10.5, you should be able to come up on these pretty easy. Apart from that, it was a pretty quiet week, but there are some big bangers coming up this week that we're going to talk about at the end of the episode. But for now, let's jump into these news stories. So we had a huge update this week in the Nike versus StockX lawsuits. This legal battle has been going on for a few years now. You guys might remember when the case first dropped, it was over NFTs. On top of that, Nike then added some counterfeiting claims saying that they had actually bought fake sneakers from StockX themselves. And then they sort of absorbed a similar claim made by a sneaker reseller who bought something like 33 pairs of individually fake pairs from the platform as well. StockX in response have been hitting back, and the whole thing has been caught up in court until we got a little bit of an update this past week. So Nike have won a summary judgment, which is essentially a decision based on the facts before the trial, only on its claim that StockX distributed 4 pairs of counterfeit sneakers to Nike's investigators, and then the 33 other pairs that I mentioned just before to this guy, Roy Kim. The court granted judgment on counts 6 for counterfeiting. However, the court denied Nike's other claim 7 for false advertising. As to the false authenticity claims, the court also denied StockX's motion. So this is just a small win for now. This trial is going to play out later on this year. Nike have got a whole bunch of other counts that they're bringing against StockX as well. We're going to go through those in a second. The trial date is set to go down between June and November. And these are the 7 claims that Nike have alleged against StockX. 1, trademark infringement. 2, false designation of origin, unfair competition, trademark dilution, injury to business reputation and dilution, common law trademark infringement and unfair competition, counterfeiting. 6, that's the summary judgment we were talking about before, and then 7, false advertising. So what does this mean for StockX in the short term? Nothing really. I think it's pretty much just business as usual. StockX have been absorbing all of the negative impact from this lawsuit over the past few years to no real ill-gotten effects, it has to be said. I mean, I'm still quite happy to buy from StockX. I still sell on StockX occasionally. I think the reality is that with human error and fallibility involved in the mix, these things are bound to happen. It's pretty much commonplace in all other platforms for this type of stuff to go down. So I don't think StockX's reputation is in the toilets by any means at all. I do think some people have their horror stories, and a lot of those horror stories tend to get hammed up online a little bit. Now, you might think a settlement could be in order, which I think is probably the best thing to do for StockX in this case, in order to maybe try to find a way to work closer with Nike to boost and bolster the authentication process that they already have in place, and maybe restore a little bit of the trust out there that some people have lost for StockX. But at least for me personally, I don't have a problem with StockX buying on there and selling on there. They've never done me wrong, but I can understand how some people out there might be a little bit nervous to trade on there going forward because of this particular case. What do you guys think? Let me know. Right, this is the final time this is going to be said. I think the Yeezy and Adidas partnership is now officially, like proper officially, no more. The last Yeezy shoe has been sold by Adidas, and this is according to their chief financial officer, Harm Ohlmeyer. Harm, that is a fantastic name to perfectly describe the end of the relationship between Ye and Adidas. Even though to a certain extent you could argue that Adidas have done really well in a post-Yeezy era. According to Q4 analytics from the end of last year, sales are up, projections are up. I know the CEO recently, Bjorn, has been talking about some job cuts and stuff like that. But if you look at the trajectory of where Adidas are heading at the moment, in terms of their sales, in terms of the exciting collaborations, in terms of the waves that they're making, they are doing really well in a post-Yeezy world. And on the flip side, Ye, I don't know if the same thing can be said. His disruptive, fast fashion, cheap fashion venture doesn't seem to have been going off without numerous different hitches. I've seen some interactions between customers and Yeezy customer service email people saying, hold tight, your order is still coming. Don't worry, if you want to cancel it, you can, but stuff is shipping soon. Hopefully. There seems to be a little bit of discontinuity about what Ye is doing with his own fashion stuff. So today we had the release of a pretty interesting collaboration between Bathing Ape and Crocs on these camo clogs with the whole ape head gibbets and all the rest of it. And it's an interesting collaboration because it really shines a light on how things have changed over the past 10 years. You see, if you were to go back 10 years, you would probably point to Bathing Ape as being one of the hottest streetwear brands around at the time. If you had even posited the idea of BAPE doing a collaboration with Crocs in 2015, you would have been laughed out of whichever area you happen to be in at the time. Quite sanctimoniously, I would add. In 2025, however, Crocs are like the cool brand. This is the brand that all the kids want to be wearing. These guys are doing the types of collaborations that appeal to a broad spectrum of ages. In an ironic twist, the same type of cool that BAPE would have imparted on Crocs back in 2015 is exactly the same type of cool that Crocs are imparting on BAPE in 2025, just showing how dramatic these trend cycles tend to whip around and come back full circle. Crazy stuff. I actually wouldn't mind a pair of these. Sneaker of the year last year was the AE1s, one of the best premier basketball sneakers we have seen in ages, arguably since the Jordans, don't at me. And now we've had our first official look or semi-official look at what is the AE2. And this has got a few people out there questioning their loyalty or wondering whether or not they are still on board. I don't know, man. When you look at this particular image, you can definitely make out a shoe for sure. You can also make out what could be some kind of abstract art or maybe even some kind of novel architectural feats. I don't know, man. This whole triangular portion on the front part of the shoe is giving me antimatter vibes. I'm not really sure what it's up to. So obviously it's a partial shot, so we can't go completely crazy on what we're seeing so far. But at least according to the reaction that I'm reading and seeing online to these, a few people are feeling like these ain't it. But it is just a partial image. Not gonna make a full determination until we see some proper full images, you know, good resolution, maybe even some on foots. But I don't know, man. I'm not really feeling them off the back of these partials. What about you? Nike have a new sneaker that is set to make some waves inside the trail running as well as the Gorpcore aesthetic fan base. These are called the ACG Ultrafly 2s, and these look pretty dope, man. Now, if you guys are into your running, you'll know that trail running and hiking and Gorpcore have become a sub-fashion streetwear entity unto themselves, and this market has been heavily predated on by the likes of On Running and Hoka and New Balance. You might say that even though Nike have ACG, they haven't really capitalized as well as you might have thought on this burgeoning market. But this sneaker could well be a change of course for them if it goes down as successfully as they might hope. These were spotted on the feet of a guy called Caleb Olson, who is a Nike athlete. He's an ultra marathon runner that regularly tests out Nike trail products. And this Ultrafly 2 boasts an oversized swoosh logo that dips into the midsole, kind of giving a little bit of off-white, especially when you have that little orange tag on the side. These are definitely giving a little bit of that Virgil vibe about them as well. They also feature this rigid pattern on the upper, which is similar to a topographical map. Speculation is that these will likely have a carbon fly plate layered onto the Zoom X foam cushioning, a little bit like the Ultrafly 1 does. Outsole features the official Vibram stamp on the outsole, which is pretty much the outdoor certification stamp you need now for your kicks. And I think these are looking pretty dope. No release date information or pricing info on these. If these are coming with the carbon fiber and all that type of stuff, and they are made for the premier competitors, this may well be an expensive sneaker, but I think from an aesthetic standpoint, these look really dope and could be really popular with the types of Gorpcore people that like to wear these sneakers in the streets rather than in the mountains. We've had a closer look at the Amamanier Air Jordan 5s, the brown colorway or the violet or burgundy crush colorway that is set to drop on May the 14th, and the retail price point is $225. Initially, when we covered these, the images weren't great, although it did look like XC Sneaker had recently been given a phone upgrade because they weren't quite as crap as we're used to expecting. And with these early initial images, it's par for the course. The initial reaction isn't particularly exciting, and then as the better images come out, and then as the on-foots come out, and then we get the official retailer product images, and then we see the in-hand reviews and the seeding out of the pairs, people's opinions tend to warm to them as the images improve. And I think that's pretty much evident here, because these on-foots have these looking way better, at least in my opinion. These look clean, they look simple. It's Amamanier, so you can't really get mad at them for being boring, because that's pretty much their bag. It is boring, it is simple, but it is clean nonetheless, and it is generally of a very high quality standard. So we got our first look this week at a pretty exciting Air Jordan 3. These are the Seoul 2.0s. If you guys have been tapped into the game, you'll remember the Seoul 1.0 Air Jordan 3s that came out back in 2018. I think they initially just dropped as a sample, and then they would later release as like a women's exclusive in 2020, again in very limited numbers. These sneakers are very rare, very hard to get your hands on, particularly in the larger sizes. And this follow-up, again, has some similar themes from the first pair, but some material and colorway updates. Notably, the shape is going to be a little bit more updated to fall in line with the current Air Jordan 3 shapes, which I prefer. They look a lot more closer to the OGs. The elephant print, as you can see, is completely different, and I think the material might be a little bit different around the elephant print panels as well. Good looking tumble on the Seoul 2.0s. The royal blue ankle collar material's also been switched out from a leather, which looks like it's been switched out to some kind of like a cotton stitched material. The obligatory sailed out midsole at this point. And what I'm seeing here is these do have a release date in May, I think around May the 15th or something like that. And I'm not seeing whether or not this is going to be a Asia or Korea only exclusive, or if this is going to be a worldwide release. I am seeing that they are going to be releasing on the Nike sneakers app in the US. So hopefully this is a worldwide release. Also had a first look this past week at a pretty exciting high 85 Jordan 1. These are called the Irregular Shadows. These have pretty much been based on a 1985 sample, which is sort of like a inverse or reverse type shadow. Very cool pair, and according to Hiroshi Fujiwara, who wore these and snapped these pics earlier on in the week, we've got what looks to be a similar type of leather that we saw on the recent bands, and that generally comes with these high 85s. The leather does look pretty thick, which is dope. You've got the oxidized midsole. No specific release date information at the moment, but obviously we'll probably be getting a few more pics in the upcoming days and weeks, and then the excitement will build as the release dates becomes announced and stuff like that. I do think this will be a pretty dope release to see. This past week, Nike dropped their answer to the Yeezy foam runner and the entire croc wave with this slip-on shoe called the Nike React X Rejuvenate. It's a foam shoe that you can slip on. It's supposed to aid in your recovery, wearing before and after, or even in between sets, I guess, whilst training. They've also got this dual purpose in being your loaf around the house type, run errand type kick, and they come out in a series of pretty cool colorways, including a couple of colorways that you might see as being familiar. And at 70 bucks, I mean, for goodness sakes, man, they must be making about 69 bucks on every single pair. I have seen some pretty positive reviews out there with people raving about these. Are these gonna be the next big things? I don't know. Aesthetically, they're not overly egregious. I mean, this type of footwear is sort of supposed to be ugly. I mean, if you think Crocs and you think foam runners, you think ugly, but that same feature isn't actually a bug. It's actually a redeeming feature of these things. I don't know. I'm going to be interested to try a pair out, but for any of you guys out there that have already copped a pair and have already chucked these on foot, let me know what you guys are thinking on these. So New Balance have been dominating the dad shoe trends now for, well, I guess since their inception, arguably, but now they're going a step further and they're going for the granddad or the grandma shoe. They have literally made a $250 walking shoe called the Allerdale, which is the home of the New Balance UK factory located in the seaside village of Flimby. According to these images, bro, these look like the shoes that your nan used to wear back in the 1930s. To their credit, they do look like they are really well made with a nice looking leather material on the upper, good looking construction. They are absolutely classic at this point. And with where fashion is right now, these sneakers are unironically fashionable. Like there will be people out there that will be looking at these as the natural progression of the loafer trend that we're currently still in the midst of. For our first look at SoCal's Arts and Recs Nike SB Dunk collab that is set to be coming out, I think sometime in the summer. And man, we haven't really been talking about SBs that much this year. It kind of feels like maybe they've been getting a little less press because of all the other heats Nike have been dropping. The collaborations so far haven't really been that crazy, at least as far as I can remember. But nonetheless, this is a pretty cool one. And they've managed to keep this collaboration under wraps. Like we didn't get any early pics or any leaks or anything. This particular image has come directly from the brand themselves. They seem to have a smooth suede base. Got some pinks in there, some oranges in there, some black in there. You've almost got the safari print on the overlays. They're looking okay. They're not looking like crazy to me, but they are looking nonetheless pretty cool. I'll keep you guys updated with any release information for these. We have another little team up between LeBron James and Deion Sanders on a LeBron sneaker, which is pretty dope, man. You guys remember last year, LeBron teamed up to do a DT Max 96, LeBron 20, which was really popular and looked really dope. And then this time we've got a LeBron 21 with some Air Diamond Turf coloration as well as crossover aesthetics. These look pretty dope, man. If you guys are in your old head bag and remember Primetime and Diamond Turf, you will no doubt be loving these. I actually think the colorway is fire. The strap works. 180 bucks, May release dates. These are going to be popular as with the old heads for sure. I've had some official images of the Jordan 1 Low OG Obsidian. These are set to drop on the 22nd of this month. Really good looking sneaker. Fantastic colorway. This colorway unfortunately got given the nickname of the TikTok Jordan because the sneaker was absolutely popping in 2020 when everybody was just camping out on TikTok all day, every day, doing their dances. It's a real shame that this colorway got given such a bad nickname because it is nonetheless fire, and I think it transfers over really well into the low top. So if these perform anything like other recent Jordan 1 lows, I'm thinking the mochas, they will be an easy cop. These shouldn't be hard to cop at all. One of the most exciting Jordan 4s set to come out this year are these, the undefeated 4s. It's come from XC Sneaker. He's lost his phone upgrade. He's got the potato phone back. The Motorola Razr is back doing its thing like it never left. And look, we don't really have much to go off at this point, but listen, the shoe is the shoe. Still hearing the rumors that there's going to be two versions, one with the Jumpman on the back, one with the Nike Air on the back. I might have seen somewhere someone say something like maybe the one shoe is the Jumpman, one side is the Nike Air. I don't know. But now that these sample pairs or these early pairs are coming off the conveyor belts, it's only a matter of days or weeks before we start getting some really good in-hand looks. And as soon as those come, I will update you guys. Another Jordan 4 that people are really fired up about for this year are these. These are the Rare Airs. And this new detail has come to light this week, or this detail might have been whipping around, but if you didn't know, now you're about to know. But apparently a quarter of these are going to feature a different colored text on the Jordan Rare Air tongue tab that is part of this Velcro patch that originally came on these shoes back in that sort of 05, 06 era, on the undefeateds, on the tour yellows, on the Rare Air pairs. And so if you get a regular pair of these with just the white text underneath, sorry bro, you're average. But if you get a pair featuring this golden text, you are gonna be in the cool kids club and will no doubt get the girls. Here you can see the difference in the color branding, which is obviously very subtle and barely perceptible. But these types of details are the details that get sneakerheads really excited and will no doubt justify a huge difference in the resale prices when they eventually come around. Early reviews are out there. The official images are in. We are not far away from probably this month's most exciting sneaker release, the Air Jordan 4 Nigel Sylvesters. And what I'm seeing here is that there's going to be something in the region of 50K pairs made available. Now, just to quickly go through what the early prices are saying in the market for these, because that sometimes gives a little bit of an indication as to how they are going to perform on release dates and what the damage is going to be. The last sale is in my size, which is a US 10.5, 500 pounds. That's early. So I would think these will probably drop down a little closer to maybe 350, 400 pounds closer to the release date, and probably not go down too much lower. So these are hype, there is demands, they are pretty cool. I've seen a lot of people say that the colorway isn't particularly wearable, and I get that, that's totally fair. These are bright orange like a brick, but at least according to the materials and the storytelling and the packaging, Nigel Sylvester at the moment just cannot miss. So I'm really excited about these. Release date is March the 14th, so a little under a week away. I've had our first really good look at the J-Tips Saucony I Love You But I'm Busy. This is on the Grid Jazz 9. Summertime is the release dates, and I know there's some of you guys out there that look at these J-Tips collabs and feel like these are probably colorways that are more specifically made for little kids, and I totally get that. They are bright, they are out there, but you can't deny the impact that J-Tips has been felt. 160 bucks, pretty cool looking model, very busy colorway. I think these are based on a hat collab that he'd done with New Era in the past, which took its inspiration from like a Mickey Mouse hat, not like a Mickey Mouse isn't, but like a Disney hat, featuring these main colors, including the blue, the yellow, and the red. So I'm feeling these. Saucony are still in their bag right now. What do you guys think? Another one of these brands that have been making mainstream inroads in sneaker culture and running culture and lifestyle culture is this brand here, Hoka. And they're pretty much right on the cusp of breaking into the sneakerhead space. And I feel like these types of collabs aren't going to be the ones to do it, but it generally gives a sense of direction that these guys are heading in. This is a collaboration at the Marni Hoka Bondi B3LS, which is a collection releasing next month. And these things are going for 395 bucks. And okay, they're probably not going to be the type of sneakers that you and me are going to go for, but these things look plush, they look comfortable, and they look like they're going to be the type of sneakers that fashion MFs or people that are into this Marni brand are going to be all about. And I just feel like this is another signal of intent from Hoka, who are continuing to make massive waves in the shoe space with sales increasing and share prices increasing and visibility of their brand increasing all the time. I can see these being really, really popular. What about you guys? You guys on the Hoka trend just yet? And just to be clear on the pronunciation, Hoka is the correct pronunciation because it's actually a Maori word. Even though it wasn't founded by Maori people, the word is Hoka one one, which means to fly. Right, so the big sneaker releases to look out for this week. March the 12th, you have the wider release of the Crocs and BAPE collaboration we spoke about earlier on in the episode. March the 13th, the Jeff Staple Brooks Adrenaline GTS 4. March the 13th, the Salehi Banbury New Balance 991 V2, colors be the palettes. And then on March the 14th, we've got the big one. We have the Nigel Sylvester Air Jordan 4, the brick by brick, or what's left of the stock after those train robbers had their way with the stock. So this is going to be on the Nike Sneakers app. All your usual tier 0 retailers will probably start wheeling out raffles for this particular pair over the upcoming week. You also might want to start keeping an eye out for the SB4 raffles via skate shops this week. This release is supposed to be going down the following week on March the 18th on the Nike sneakers app, the same day that the Union Ones are said to be dropping on the Nike sneakers app as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about those releases in next week's episode, but you just might want to keep an eye out for some of the skate shop raffles that will be going out for the SB4s this week. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the video. Go over and give me a follow on IG. I really would appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your weekends. I will see you on the next one. Take care for now, and peace.